It was just another busy afternoon at a small town diner. Plates clinking, soft chatter filling the air, and waitresses weaving through tables with practiced ease. Among them was Emily, a kind-hearted waitress who'd been working there for years. She knew most of the regulars by name, and nothing unusual ever happened during her shifts. But today would be different. Today, something deeply unexpected was about to unfold, and it would change everything. At a corner booth, almost hidden from view, sat an old man. His clothes were worn, his hands trembling slightly as he stared down at an empty plate in front of him. No food, no drink, just silence. Emily noticed him the moment she stepped out from behind the counter. Something about the way he sat, still, hunched, almost invisible, made her pause. When she walked over to check on him, expecting maybe a quiet request or a forgotten menu, what she saw stopped her cold. Tears. They slipped down his cheeks slowly, quietly, as if he'd given up trying to hide them. It wasn't the kind of cry that draws attention. It was the kind that comes from somewhere deep, where grief and loneliness sit side by side. Emily felt something stir inside her. She didn't know who he was, or why he was there without ordering anything. But something told her this wasn't just about hunger. This was something more. She sat beside him without saying a word at first. She didn't want to startle him. The other waitresses kept moving, the kitchen bell kept ringing, but Emily stayed still. She gently placed a hand on the edge of his table and asked softly, "Sir, are you all right?" What followed was a moment of silence so heavy it felt like the room had stopped. The old man slowly looked up at her, eyes red and tired, and whispered something she didn't expect, something that made her breath catch. But instead of turning away or calling a manager, Emily made a quiet decision right then and there, one that would set off a chain of events nobody could have predicted. A small gesture from a stranger that would soon go viral and touch the hearts of millions across the world. What did the old man say? And what exactly did Emily do that had people from all walks of life sharing her story, praising her kindness, and rethinking how they treat the people around them? Stay with me, because what happens next is something you won't forget. The old man's voice was barely above a whisper, rough with emotion. It was her favorite place, he said, staring at the empty plate. We used to come here every Sunday. For 23 years. His eyes didn't meet Emily's, just stayed locked on that spotless dish, like it held all the memories in the world. Emily sat frozen, unsure what to say. Her shift was still going. Tables still needed clearing. Orders still needed to be taken. But in that moment, none of it mattered. She looked at him, really looked. His jacket was faded, the collar slightly frayed. His shoes had seen better days. But there was something else, a deep sadness, like he'd been carrying it for a long time. I lost her 6 months ago, he added, voice cracking. Cancer. Then he let out a long, shaky breath. I still come here, every week. I sit in our spot and pretend she's still here. Emily's chest tightened. She didn't know this man, didn't know his wife or their story. But something about the way he said it, so plain, so raw, made her feel like she did. Like they were all somehow connected by the simplest, most human things: love, loss, and memory. Around them, the diner kept moving. A toddler giggled 2 booths down. A couple clinked coffee cups in a quiet toast. Life kept happening. But in that little corner, time seemed to stand still. Emily glanced toward the kitchen. Her manager was busy, thankfully not looking her way. She turned back to the old man. "Would you like something to eat?" she asked gently. He shook his head. "No appetite," he replied. "I just wanted to feel close to her today." She nodded, not pushing, but her heart ached. This man was clearly in pain, and nobody had noticed until now. Customers had come and gone, chatting, laughing, living their lives. And this man had been sitting here, invisible to the world. Emily couldn't explain why, but something inside her said she had to do something. Not because it would go viral or get attention, but because it was right. She excused herself quietly and walked to the kitchen, her mind racing with ideas. She didn't know yet how this small moment, this decision to not look away, would spark something far bigger than she imagined. But something was beginning to stir. A ripple, a spark of compassion that would soon spread far beyond the walls of that little diner. Whatever Emily was about to do next would not only touch this old man's life, it would start a story that the whole world would soon be talking about. In the kitchen, Emily stood still for a moment, her hand resting on the counter as the hum of the fryer and clatter of dishes echoed around her. Her thoughts were spinning. She couldn't stop thinking about the old man's eyes, the way he spoke about his wife, how he sat there every week with nothing but an empty plate and memories. It wasn't just sad, it was haunting. She walked over to the head cook, Frank, a gruff but good-natured guy who had been working there almost as long as she had. "Hey," she said, keeping her voice low. "Can I get a plate of the roast turkey special? But don't ring it up. I'll cover it." Frank raised an eyebrow. "What's this about?" She hesitated, then said, "There's an older man out in booth 6. He didn't order, but he's going through something. He lost his wife. They used to come here. I want to do something kind." Frank gave her a look. Not annoyed, not confused, just thoughtful. Then he nodded, coming right up. Back out on the floor, Emily set the warm plate in front of the man. "It's on the house," she said gently. "Her favorite, right?" He looked down at the food, roast turkey, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce on the side, and something shifted in his expression. A kind of softness that hadn't been there before. His lips trembled, but he didn't speak. He just nodded, eyes shining. But while that one gesture sparked something quietly beautiful at the table, not everyone in the diner saw it that way. From across the room, a younger man sitting with his laptop glanced up, watching Emily sit again with the old man. He frowned. After she left the table, he flagged her down. "Hey, I don't mean to be rude," he said, voice hushed, "but are we allowed to just give away food now?" Emily stiffened. "It's taken care of. It's not a big deal." "Well, I run a blog on small business," he added, tapping his screen. "Just saying, things like this can hurt margins. I've seen diners go under for less." Emily didn't respond. She just gave him a polite smile and moved on. But his words lingered. What if someone complained to the manager? What if she got in trouble for trying to help? The line between kindness and consequences suddenly felt thinner than she expected. Meanwhile, in the back booth, the old man slowly picked up his fork. He took a single bite, then paused, staring ahead as if seeing something nobody else could. As if she was still there, across from him. And across town, unbeknownst to anyone, a story was already being typed up by that same blogger, ready to post. A story that would stir up more than just sympathy. The next morning, Emily walked into the diner expecting another normal shift. But the moment she stepped through the door, she sensed something was different. The air buzzed with quiet conversation. Her coworkers were huddled near the register, eyes glued to their phones. One of the servers looked up at her wide-eyed. "Emily, have you seen this?" she whispered, holding out her phone. Emily leaned in. There at the top of the screen was a blog post titled, "Kinness or Carelessness. Waitress gives free meal to man who didn't order." The photo at the top, taken without her knowing, showed her sitting beside the old man, hand on the table, eyes full of concern. Below it, a stream of comments was pouring in. Some praised her, calling it a touching act of humanity. Others criticized the diner, warning about setting dangerous precedents. One comment read, "Asterisk nice gesture, but in this economy, can't afford to feed everyone who walks in and cries." Asterisk. Emily's heart sank. It wasn't supposed to be like this. She hadn't done it for attention. She hadn't even known anyone was watching. Now her simple act of kindness was being picked apart by strangers online. The manager, Linda, called her into the office. Emily sat across from her, nerves churning. "I read the blog," Linda said, her tone careful. "Look, I get why you did it. I really do. And personally, I respect it. But we've had a dozen calls this morning. Some people want to donate, others are furious. They think we're playing favorites or making a political statement." Emily's head spun. "I didn't mean to cause any trouble," she said quietly. "He was just alone and hurting." Linda sighed. "You've always had a big heart. But now this is blowing up, and we have to decide how to handle it. There's talk of a local reporter stopping by. And that man, do you even know his name?" Emily paused. She didn't. She had never asked. She had been so focused on the moment, on showing compassion, that she hadn't even thought to get his name. Back out on the floor, people were already whispering. Some had come in just because of the blog post. One woman quietly asked to sit in the booth. Another customer handed Emily a small envelope, saying only, "This is for him." Inside was a handwritten note and a /$20 bill. Meanwhile, the old man hadn't come back. Not yet. Emily checked the door every few minutes, hoping he'd walk in. But with every hour that passed, the tension grew. Had he seen the blog? Was he embarrassed? Or worse, was something wrong? And then, just before closing, the bell above the door chimed. Emily turned toward the sound of the doorbell, heart racing. For a moment, she hoped it was the old man. But instead, a younger man stepped in, tall, neatly dressed, maybe in his early 40s. He paused just inside the entrance, scanning the room slowly, then walked straight to the counter. There was something familiar about his face, but Emily couldn't place it. He waited patiently while Emily finished with a customer, then leaned in slightly. "Hi," he said, voice steady but low. "I think you were the one who helped my father the other day." Emily blinked. "Your father?" The man nodded. "Walter. Older gentleman, gray coat, sits in the back booth." Emily's breath caught. So he did have a name. Walter. "I saw the post online," the man continued. "I don't know who took that photo, but it's been everywhere. My phone hasn't stopped ringing. Friends, neighbors, even someone from the local news." Emily wasn't sure how to respond. "I didn't mean for any of that to happen. I saw he was hurting. I couldn't ignore it." He nodded again, but this time his expression darkened just a little. "That's the thing," he said. "We've been trying to keep my father off social media. After my mother passed, he withdrew. We were afraid too much attention might make things worse." Emily felt a twist in her stomach. "I never meant to expose him," she said quickly. "I didn't even know someone took a picture." But the man didn't seem angry, just tense. "I understand. And for what it's worth, thank you. That meal meant more to him than you can imagine. But there's something else." Emily leaned in, sensing something deeper coming. "He didn't come home last night," the man said, his voice tight. "He left yesterday morning, said he was going for a walk, but he never came back. And when we saw the blog, we thought maybe he'd be here. or that someone here might have seen him. Emily's heart dropped. You haven't heard anything at all. He shook his head. Nothing. And now, with his face being shared everywhere, I'm worried. He doesn't like attention. If he saw that post, he might have gone off the grid. Outside the diner windows, the evening was settling in. Clouds heavy, sky turning gray. Inside, a hush had fallen. Emily's mind raced. A missing person. A viral story. And a man who might have just wanted to grieve in peace, now possibly lost because of one small act that had spiraled beyond anyone's control. Suddenly, helping Walter wasn't just about kindness anymore. It was about finding him before it was too late. Emily didn't hesitate. She grabbed her coat from the hook behind the counter and told her manager she had to go. There wasn't time to explain everything, only that Walter was missing, and she might be the last person who'd made him feel seen. His son followed her out the door, and together they began retracing possible places Walter might have gone. They checked the park nearby first, then the church a few blocks away. Still nothing. Each stop left them more anxious. The man's face was all over social media now. What started as a simple act of kindness had turned into something overwhelming, an unintentional spotlight that might have pushed Walter further into hiding. Then Emily remembered something. Walter had mentioned it so casually she almost missed it. We used to go to the lake after lunch. He'd said that day, his voice filled with longing. She grabbed her phone and pulled up the map. The lake wasn't far, just a 15-minute drive. They rushed to the car, barely speaking, both holding onto the same thin thread of hope. As they pulled into the empty parking lot, the sky opened up with a light drizzle. The trees lining the lake swayed with the wind, and the path was quiet. Emily scanned the benches near the water, heart pounding. Then she saw him. Walter was sitting under the old willow tree by the edge of the lake, hunched forward, coat soaked, hands folded in his lap. He looked up as they approached, eyes tired but calm. "I didn't mean to scare anyone," he said, voice barely louder than the rain. "I just needed to feel close to her. This was our favorite spot." His son knelt beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We were worried, Dad. I thought maybe all the attention pushed you too far." Walter shook his head slowly. "No, that girl at the diner reminded me people still care. I just needed quiet. One last day to feel her near without the noise." Emily felt tears prick her eyes. Relief washed over her, but so did something else, understanding. They got him home safely that night. And just as Emily was about to head back to the diner, Walter stopped her. "I never got to say thank you," he said, holding out a small folded note. "This was for her, but I think you should have it now." Back in her car, Emily opened the note. Inside, in shaky handwriting, were the words, "Asterisk, you saw me when no one else did. That's love. Don't ever lose that. Asterisk." And just when she thought the story had ended, her phone buzzed. A national news anchor had picked up the post and wanted to interview Asterisk her asterisk. Emily stared at the screen for a long moment, the message from the national news anchor glowing back at her. She could hardly believe it. What had started with a quiet, unnoticed act of compassion had grown into something far beyond what she ever expected. She wasn't looking for fame, and part of her felt unsure about stepping into the spotlight. But a bigger part knew the story wasn't just about her. It was about Walter, about grief, kindness, and the way small choices ripple through the world. A week later, the diner was busier than ever. People came in not just for the food, but because they wanted to see the booth where it all happened. Some brought flowers, others left notes. One woman traveled 2 hours just to tell Emily how the story made her call her father after years of silence. The once quiet diner had become a place of healing, conversation, and connection. Walter came back too, this time with his son. He walked a little taller, smiled a little more. And instead of sitting alone, he sat with Emily and told her stories about his wife. How she loved puzzles, how she never missed a Sunday lunch, how she used to laugh so hard she'd cry. Emily listened, grateful to know her memory, even through second-hand stories. The interview aired that Friday evening. Emily didn't try to sound perfect. She just told the truth, that she saw someone hurting and chose to sit down instead of walking past. And that single moment, now shared by millions, reminded people everywhere of something simple but powerful. Kindness matters. Not flashy, not performative, just real, quiet, human kindness. And yet, the story had one last surprise. A man from a local nonprofit saw the interview. He reached out to Walter and his son with an idea: launch a community initiative where volunteers could share a seat with someone eating alone, just like Emily did. They called it One Plate, One Story. Within a month, diners, cafes, and restaurants across the state joined in. Emily was invited to speak at the first event, where Walter, standing beside her, told the crowd, "That empty plate used to remind me of what I lost. Now it reminds me of what I still have." As the months passed, things slowly returned to normal at the diner. But Emily was never quite the same. She served coffee, cleaned tables, greeted regulars, but now she paid closer attention. Because she knew what could happen when you really see someone. And sometimes when she walked past that corner booth, she'd still glance at it, remembering that quiet afternoon. One plate, one story, and a moment that changed everything.